Good evening. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to switch orders just a little bit this evening. We have a couple of young runners who are going to be recognized, and I'm going to ask Coach Barbera to bring the runners this way, if you would, please. Coach, if you'll introduce these folks and give us an idea of their accomplishments, that'd be great.
First, this is Ryan Mukhtar. He runs the hurdles and was state champion in the high jump this past year. His head coach is Steve Kidd. He was also, his jump was 7'1", listed him as number 2 in the nation.
Wow.
Well,
Wow. Wow.
Team, and you scored in the 100 hurdles too. Yeah. And signed a national letter of intent to run, to do track and field at Marshall University.
great.
Coach, and my assistant Amy is assistant girls coach, and Alma is our star sprinter. Her list of academic accomplishments and awards is truly amazing. She's a WVU Foundation recipient, one of 5 people in the state to get that. National Merit Scholar as well. But she was the state champion in the 200 meters. Her time of 25.3 is the 21st fastest time ever in West Virginia.
Wow.
She was also second in the 100 and a member of the second place 4x200 and 5th place 4x100 meter relay.
Wow.
She's actually earned all state honors in 6 different events. Last year she did it in the 4x4 and 4x8, and this year she begged me to run the 1 and the 2. And we almost didn't let her because it requires her to run 6 races in one day. And good thing I listened to her. Go on and on.
Sure. Coach Cherry has a certificate for
Okay.
each of these
Students. This is a certificate of achievement. This acknowledges that Alma is a 2024 West Virginia AAA state champ in the 200 meter dash with a time of 25.30. This is the 21st fastest time run in the state of West Virginia. She's also a runner-up in the 100 meter dash and a member of the second place 4x200 meter relay and the 5th place 4x100 meter relay team. Granted your special coin by Mayor Rappel in the
There we go.
Certificate of Achievement.
There's a challenge coin for you.
Challenge coin, and here's your certificate. Congratulations, Alma. Ryan, this is a special certificate of achievement. This acknowledges that you are the 2024 West Virginia AAA state champ in the high jump with a jump of 6 feet 10 inches, but your season best was 7 feet 1 inch. You were ranked 2nd in the nation in high school athletes in the high jump. That's impressive. He also placed 3rd in the 110 meter hurdles and was a member of the shuttle hurdle relay team that finished in 3rd place. Certificate of achievement signed by Mayor Rob Rappel, and he's going to give you your challenge coin. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ryan. Very good.
Thank you.
We have a fairly long meeting, and you're not required to stay unless you just like to be bored. Okay, moving right along here. First order of business, reading and approval of the minutes from the April 23rd, 2024 regular council meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the minutes for the April 23rd meetings presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Thank you. Next, reading and approval of the minutes from the April 29th, 2024 workshop regarding the fruits of labor lease.
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the special workshop on April 29th. As presented, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Thank you. Next, fiscal year 2023-2024 budget revision. Mr. Trump?
Yes, sir. The state auditor requires us to balance the budget at the end of the fiscal year. This is a little early because the state auditor sent out a notification that they're going to be in training the second half of June. So we need to get our budget revisions in a little more quickly so that they will have time to look over them and take care of it. The only real items we had to take care of a gift from the state at the homeless shelter. We had to book that. That's contributions and transfers from other entities. And we had ARPA funds and additional monies from the fire levy to take care of the fire truck. So that's contributions from other funds. So those two had to be booked as income. So we went back to the budget. As you can see, 976, 977 took care of both of those items. There were about three. We did a fairly good job with the budget. All the lines are in pretty good shape. Police judge's office had an increase. Community development had an increase, and human rights had an increase. And so we decided, since it was very unlikely that we're going to have any more snow in between now and the end of the fiscal year at the end of June, that we could take money out of snow removal and balance those two. So that's essentially what we've done.
Very good, thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Trump on the budget revision? I'd like to have a motion to approve that.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget revision as presented by Mr. Trump. And as always, Billy, I thank you for your diligence and ability to stay ahead of the calendar on everything you do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay,
All in favor?
okay, yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next, receipt of bids for a 1-ton four-wheel drive dump truck with a snowplow. And I think we had rebid this, thinking that we might receive other interested parties, but I'm not sure that was the case. We just have the one bid. Okay, this is a bid from Northwest in St. Clairsville, Ohio. Looks like the grand total of the bid is $141,980 even.
About the same. Not that much.
So I'll turn this bid over to the two councilmen at large, Mr. Trump and Pam Fry, for review and discussion and possible future award. Next, we have two bids for the demo grant. Okay, this involves several houses to be demolished under the grant we received. This is from Empire Salvage. The total bid is $119,925. This will also be handed over to the two council people at large. And they and Mr. Trump and
We should have a second bid for
yeah, for the,
demolition.
right. Looks like it might be asbestos. Okay, this is from Reclaim Inspection, Asbestos Abatement, and Demolition of 13 structures in Beckley, and their total estimate is $170,450. The two will be turned over to two council persons at large, Mr. Trump and Pam. Okay, next, one bid for asphalt, stone, et cetera. This is kind of a boilerplate routine bid that goes out every time this year. Inquiry's open. Okay, this is from Southern West Virginia Paving, Base 2 and PL1, $105 per ton. Wearing 1, $109 per ton. Curb mix, $144 per ton. Tennis mix, $144 per ton. So these will also be turned over to the councilman at large and Mr. Trump and Pam for review. Okay, we see the bids for concrete. Okay, we did not receive a bid for a walk-in freezer for Black Knight. So I guess we'll need to rebid that, Billy, you think?
I'll talk it over with Leslie Baker, and we'll see what we need to do. We may be compelled to just look at it as an emergency repair, since we've had no interest, and see what we can do from there.
All righty.
They're functioning, but they're using kind of makeshift freezers right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
On number 7, you told us the bid on the asphalt,
Uh-huh.
but the concrete, stone, abrasive, sand, reinforcement rods, I guess we did not get a
I
bid?
don't think that was included, was it, Billy?
I
I just saw the different mixes.
have to look.
It's usually, I think it's just usually those 4 mixes.
Yeah.
That's usually what it comes in.
Yeah,
It doesn't, for whatever reason, break it down that way.
yeah. It comes on the curb mix.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul Hutchison, who was on our agenda to talk about continued relationship with the chamber for the gateway entrances to the city. Paul's out of town on vacation. Tom's going to say a few words on his behalf.
Yeah, I sit on a committee with Paul, and he wants to continue to address the gateways, to dress them up with like landscaping and signage, and continued work on like the Clarence W. Meadows Boulevard. And what his main concern is that the next administration, when it comes in, that he would like to write a resolution for the next meeting for our approval, that the next council will continue the hard work that's been put forth towards these gateways. And that's about what Paul would have to
This
say.
has been also a part of the
Good.
gateway.
Yeah, like this is a part of a
This has been
gateway
a
right
part of
here.
the gateway, the interstate murals that have been put up. That's a part of the gateway project.
There's a beautiful sign that it's in the it's not being worked on right now, but we're talking about monies, about a nice big Beckley sign on the entrance of the Clarence Meadows Boulevard up on the Berkshire end of the road. So anyway, there's some money been put forth towards this, and he'd like to see that continued.
Very good, thanks,
And the
Tom.
overlook.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, next we have our consulting engineer from Thrasher, Mr. Sam Rich. Sam's going to talk to us about a lump sum fee for the scope of services for the Pinecrest Business Park. When we received the business park, and it was deeded over to the city of Beckley, going on 3 years ago, I guess now. The agreement was that the city would take that project on, develop it to its full potential, and do what we could to design adequate infrastructure to make every site that we get involved with out there site ready. You know, we can have beautiful property, but if it's not site ready, it's of no value to a prospect who may be coming to relocate. So with that, Sam, did I need any more introduction into what you got going?
I don't think so. I just wanted to address what this agreement is for and go over our detailed scope of services that we're providing for this project, and then entertain any questions about the project itself or our scope of services. So as the mayor was describing, I will go into a little bit more detail about exactly what we are being asked to engineer and oversee construction for. This would be for the development of 30 acres of what we call in the industry pad-ready sites for commercial office development. There is immediate interest in some of the property that is located close to the East Beckley bypass that would be, you know, the first part that we would focus on to get ready for sale, but this agreement is for the design and engineering of that entire 30 acres. As we've discussed with you all at workshops and council meetings in the past, the intent is to look at a variety of ways to finance this project creatively. We've been in contact with John Stump at Steptoe and Johnson, who's a bond counsel that does projects with municipalities across the state. He's also kind of throwing out some other ideas we can look at to creatively finance this and do this all as one contiguous project, as opposed to just focusing on the initial development, which is in kind of that top left corner closest to the bypass. So our services for this project, just to kind of go through our agreement, we would have survey, investigation of existing utilities, topographic survey. We performed an aerial flight of this area of Pinecrest in 2023 that we will utilize for design purposes of this. There is a geotechnical investigation included in our scope of work, which will drill at least 20 test borings. The reason for that service is to identify depth to bedrock and the type of material that we're going to be moving. We're moving about 100,000 yards of dirt on this project, so when we are putting this out to bid, that geotech report will help contractors understand what they're going to be dealing with, what type of earthwork they're going to be trying to move to get these sites flat and ready for development. This includes design and permitting, so the full design documents, specifications, necessary documents for you all to put this out to bid. With it being a public project, you will have to competitively bid this, and the lowest qualified bidder will be awarded the work. Thrasher will handle all of the advertisements, the pre-bid meeting. We would review the bids and then provide those bids once they're received to City Council for approval. We would basically be responsible for answering any questions during the bid process, issuing addendums, providing clarification so that everybody that's bidding the project is bidding apples to apples. After that, kind of prior to that, we're also responsible for obtaining necessary permits for the project. So this project will require local permits through the Beckley Sanitary Board for construction, stormwater, and grading, as well as permits for extensions of public utilities. There'll be water and sewer extensions necessary to these development sites, so you'll need to get a Bureau of Public Health Department permit through the state. And you also need a construction stormwater permit through the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. So we're handling all of the permitting necessary for the project as part of that design and permitting phase. I've already talked about bidding. We're also including in this scope of work construction administration and inspection. Construction administration, we're basically the ones responsible for managing the contractor during this process. So regularly scheduled progress meetings, we're reviewing submittals of products and materials that they're going to be using on the project. We're performing regular inspections with engineering staff, project managers, or members of the design team. The in addition service to that construction administration, which we do on all public projects, is the full-time inspection, which we've included in this as well. The full-time inspection on a project like this is very important because a lot of what we're doing you can't see and inspect later. Buildings are a little different. You can tell when somebody's not done what they're supposed to on a building project because you can visibly see it. Utilities going underground, material being compacted at the rate percentage it's supposed to be compacted to, very hard to catch on the fly if you're not out there every day. So we would do all the materials testing and inspection as part of this project through this contract. I will throw out just some other facts about the project. Right now, we're estimating the construction value of the 30-acre development to be about a $5 million project. That puts our fee in comparison to the construction cost of the project right around 10%. It's a little less than 10%. In our industry, design typically ranges from 4 to 6%. Obviously, I've just described several other services that are in addition to the design phase that we are offering to the city to make sure that the contractor's doing what they're supposed to, and you're getting the quality product that we design and put out to bid. This is a project that the city's been talking about for a long time. It's at a phase where it needs to move forward, and if I can, I will allow Jenna to speak to that as well. Jenna Belcher with the Development Authority is here tonight, and I wanted to give her a chance to kind of address you all as it relates to this project.
Thanks, Sam. Jenna, do you want to say a few?
I just want to acknowledge, I know there's been a lot of conversation about this. I just want to acknowledge that when the city accepted Pinecrest, as the mayor mentioned, in the agreement, there were several stipulations that required that the city would uphold certain obligations as part of the transfer. One of those was the master planning of the property within the first 18 months of owning the property. That obviously has not happened. So that is, part of the reason that we're here today is that we have active tenants that are very interested in purchasing property. You actually have the first reading of an ordinance on there today that if the Thrasher contract does not move forward, would be a moot point simply because the property is not ready. And furthermore, the conversation with the Pinecrest group who we do still communicate with is that they are expecting some movement on Pinecrest. And again, per that agreement that was signed, this was, the number 2 priority for council to move forward. So I think, in an attempt to move forward with the city, as the owner of Pinecrest, I do think it would be advantageous to obviously move this forward as the long-standing engineer on the property who worked with both Pinecrest and many other business parks in the state of West Virginia to proactively develop them.
Thanks, Jenna.
Questions?
Any questions of Sam?
I know that Jeremiah's got some stormwater and stuff going on out there. Are you going to be working with him in that so that everybody's talking together? 'Cause I could see where he might have something already in the works and then we come up with something and they kind of clash.
So the project you're referring to, the Hartley Avenue upgrades and the stormwater, the stream
Correct.
restoration project through Pinecrest is actually not geographically connected to this at all.
Okay.
It will certainly impact the design of that project because what we are effectively doing is we're adding impervious surface that was not previously there.
Okay.
This development will have to follow the city's predetermined stormwater ordinances to hold back any new impervious surfaces that are added through Beckley's MS4, you're required to manage that stormwater on site. So we are not adding any additional tax to that system. I am not involved in that project, but
Right.
Thrasher is.
Mm-hmm.
So my colleagues and I, and Jeremiah has been involved in meetings about Pinecrest and the development. So everyone is communicating and aware that while they don't connect, they do certainly need to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
So
I just
yes.
don't want to, because I agree with Jenna, you know, when we signed all this several years ago at Black Knight, you know, it was kind of, let's get busy, and then, of course, you know, things of the world happened, and we kind of got set back. But I do agree this needs to move forward very quickly. Jenna, have the tenants expressed a timeline as far as them wanting to get busy with it?
Yeah, so, there are two tenants, each looking at about 2 to 2.5 acres apiece, on that main property that
Mhm.
Sam was discussing.
Okay.
One of them has been trying to locate in Pinecrest for about 5.5 years now, and has been waiting on the infrastructure development there, and is very eager. The second is calling daily, if not weekly, to ask when can the property be sold. And again, there is the first reading of the ordinance for that property sale on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
But they're not interested in purchasing unless it's ready property, as with any property owner.
Okay.
Sam, is there any reason why that we don't bid out engineering services? This is almost $500,000 for your labor or work here, and Jeremiah sent all of us a big lengthy email this afternoon, and he talked about this West Virginia Code 5G.
Yes, sir.
And it says right here plainly that if a project is over $250,000, that it would go through some type of bid process. If it
Sure.
was under the 250, it would be, the city could, just use somebody previously done before. Would you explain that for us?
Sure. So West Virginia Code 5G, for those who don't know anything about it, is basically, it's a state code that applies to the state subdivisions of the states, meaning municipalities, that when you hire an architect or an engineer for a project that's over $250,000, it's supposed to be a qualifications-based process. So the city would put out an RFP and ask for engineering architecture firms to submit qualifications, and then they would rank in order of preference the top 3, and then they would typically interview those firms. Sometimes you'll see those that are written specifically for a project, and sometimes you'll see them that they're written as open-end opportunities to provide services. Thrasher submitted on an RFP that the city put out in 2016, and we were selected as the open-end general services provider for the city of Beckley. And we have done several projects for the city under that selection and that RFP process. We never work out a scope, so the point of this is, we don't have a master service agreement where we just give you all a task order. You all have a project, you approach us and say, this is what we're trying to do. We give you a scope of services and we negotiate. And what that has allowed you all to do through that general services RFP is not have to go through that 5G process every time you have a project. Those processes take at least 2 months every time you do them. So let's say you're going to do a simple renovation to a building, and you just needed to call your architect engineer. That mechanism of doing a general services RFP allows you to do that, and is how you've been able to work with Thrasher in the past. You all cannot bid anything out and price be part of the initial negotiation. When you go through that 5G process, you're supposed to pick the firm most qualified for the work. And then you negotiate a fee with that firm, and if you cannot come to an agreement with the #1 ranked firm, that allows you to move to firm number 2. That 5G code is strictly qualifications based, and Councilman Sofer, the reason for that is that we could be underbid by several small engineering firms that maybe don't have the qualification or expertise that we do, or the services that we do in-house. And that code was written as really a protection to government entities that they need to pick the most qualified for the work and then negotiate the price from there. So that in essence is an explanation of Code 5G. And why you all did not do this RFP process for this project is because you have effectively done that and selected Thrasher as the firm that can provide these services. Nothing prohibits you from doing that again. And, you know, I certainly am invested in this. I'm from Beckley. I love working for Beckley. But I can't tell you not to do that. If you all want to put an RFP out and make sure you're hiring the most qualified, that you can do that. You just can't bid it out like you would to a contractor. You can't ask for price is basically what I'm saying. So.
Thank you, Sam.
Any other questions of Sam? Sam, I think your explanation of the 5G process and the comparison of going out for bid for a contractor versus going out to solicit with an RFP professional services was well done. There's really no comparison. And I think your description of that process was right on as far as looking at qualifications and then inviting the top, maybe the top three submitters in to negotiate a price is right on. Anything else? Any other questions of Sam?
Sam, there are other organizations, including our high school, that use that property for purposes. Coach is obviously here, so the first thing that comes to mind is cross-country. Any idea specifically when we'll be breaking ground? Because they have meets and things that they utilize that property for, and they need to plan their day too. Any specifics you could give us so we can try to work out?
So with what we have in front of us, doing a bond execution, possibly the consideration of whether a TIF district would make sense.
Right.
We're several months away from breaking ground. The earliest I would think we would break ground with what we still have in front of us beyond approving the engineering and the other legal processes and approvals that this body would need to give.
Right.
You're not breaking ground before fall of this year.
Okay.
You are also probably really up against it at this point to break ground this fall, just because of everything I just mentioned. And, you know, John Stump, who I mentioned earlier, said the bond and that process may be 90 days. You also have the TIF district component, which has to go through State Development Office approvals as well. So there's a lot that, you know, would prevent us from breaking ground this year.
So we probably won't even be talking about spring until it really would interrupt.
Probably not, because you don't want to do an earthwork project in the winter.
You can, so.
Any other questions of Sam?
I do make a suggestion for the new incoming council, that RFP that Sam is talking about, maybe that's a good thing that the new council comes in and they make, you know, recommendations that they, you know, receive some RFPs from other engineering services so we can get fresh again. And Thrasher may get the call. I mean, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, like, you know, it just keeps people honest when you keep, you know, asking them to bid things for you.
The Beckley Sanitary Board just did that a couple years ago. We were reselected for that effort. We would, if the city did it again, we would certainly apply. Again, I'm not encouraging you all not to do that if those are your wishes, and I'm trying to be as honest with you as I can. So, would never tell you not to do that. I think it's a good recommendation.
Now, stepping out just a little bit, was there enough explanation from Sam and Jenna to satisfy council, or would it be council's pleasure to schedule a workshop in the next 10 days or so?
That's what I was going to recommend. I would like to see it tabled and have a workshop because the 5G and stuff, it's never been brought to my attention. I didn't know exactly, and I was the one that wanted the bid process doing, just because, I mean, $500,000 is a lot of money to spend on the city, you know, citizens' money before we even break ground. So I personally would like to see it tabled and put on the next agenda to get some time to think about it and have a workshop personally, because I think a lot of questions were just answered, and I think it'd be kind of irresponsible to vote yes or no right now, in my opinion.
Mr. Reedy, I'd second that, especially considering in taking that gift, this council will recall that was a little over 18 months ago, but we also accepted $325,000 in debt when we absorbed the technology center. So I think for transparency's sake, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would just acknowledge that Pinecrest should be invited to that just to
Sure.
disclose the 281,000 of income that comes in. And I do think that there is some communication between Pinecrest Council and the city's council that needs to be discussed as well.
Sure.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this issue. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Thank you. Second reading, public hearing of an ordinance to provide for an amendment to traffic control map. Mr. Fowle?
Yes, Mayor, I will read this ordinance by title. We did first reading on April 23rd of this year, and once I read it by title, then we will have a public hearing. And this ordinance is titled, "An Ordinance to Provide for an Amendment to the Traffic Control Map Other Than Parking and Traffic Control File requiring vehicles traveling on Ballstick Avenue to stop at the intersection of Ballstick Avenue and Hartley Avenue." And at this time, I will open a public hearing and ask if anybody has any comments, either in favor of or in opposition to this ordinance. Hearing to be no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any questions on this ordinance on its second reading? If not, I would entertain a motion to pass this motion on the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second to accept the ordinance as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Okay, first reading of an ordinance authorizing sale of 2 acres of real estate located in Pinecrest Business Park off Clarence Meadows Boulevard. Mr. Fowle?
Yes, sir, Mayor. This follows up with what Sam Rich was talking about. There is a party or two parties that have requested the city to sell to them certain tracts that are in the Pinecrest Business Park. And this ordinance would be first reading tonight. Anytime the city sells real estate, it must be done through an ordinance. It requires 2 readings. This is the first reading tonight. If passed tonight on first reading, the second reading would be at the next council meeting, at which time there would be a public hearing on the ordinance. The price that the parties have offered to pay is $75,000 per parcel. These are parcels that were negotiated with the prior owner of Pinecrest. The city has agreed to honor the price that was offered to these parties at that time. And at this time, I would ask, and I've read that, but I'll read the title of the ordinance. It's an ordinance authorizing the city of Beckley to sell 2 parcels of real estate located in the Pinecrest Business Park off of the Clarence W. Meadows Parkway. And at this time, Mayor, I would ask that you call for a motion to approve on first reading.
Okay, we have a motion. First of all, any questions of Mr. Fowle on this proposed ordinance? Do we have a motion to pass it on the first reading?
So
And-
moved.
Second.
Okay, and send it to a public hearing. Okay, we have a motion and second to accept the ordinance as presented on the first reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, motion carries. Thank you. First reading of an ordinance authorizing property swap with WVU Department of Veterans Assistance. Mr. Fowle?
Yes, sir. We have been requested by the West Virginia Department of Veterans Assistance to exchange property with them or to swap property. They own a parcel of land in which they were going to develop basically a nursing home or a long-term care facility. And they have now determined that the parcel they own is not really conducive to their needs. And so there is another parcel that the city owns that they have asked us to swap the 2 parcels. The city administration is asking council for permission to do so. It will, once passed, and once again, we will have two readings of this ordinance, and there will be a public hearing following the second reading in 2 weeks. If approved tonight, then it will take a deed by the city deeding a parcel of land to the West Virginia Department of Veterans Assistance, and at that time, we will receive back a deed for another parcel from the West Virginia Department of Veterans Assistance. It's going to be a very positive development that the Veterans Assistance, Department of Veterans Assistance is trying to complete, and it's something that I think the city feels very strongly should be done. So the ordinance is titled, Ordinance Authorizing Property Swap with West Virginia Department of Veterans Assistance. And once again, we need this to be passed on first reading so we can move it to a public hearing and second reading at the next meeting. Mayor?
Is that it? Thank you, sir. Okay, any questions of Mr. Fowle regarding the, of this ordinance on the first meeting? I will say that I went to the original groundbreaking, which was on a nice flat piece of property overlooking Little League, and it was determined, as Bill said, that after Chrysler looking into their plans, that in order to construct a facility, a nursing facility on that particular piece of property, it was going to have to be 2 stories. And they felt that that really added to the cost, and in essence, going forward, just mobility of patients, et cetera, that 1 floor would be better. So what we've done, we've taken over what I think is a prime piece of property and agreed to swap it out with the VA, which is good for both parties, I think. So do we have a motion to pass this ordinance on the first reading and schedule for a public hearing?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the ordinance as presented on the first reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. First reading of an ordinance authorizing closure of alleys between Totten Street and Thurman Street. Mr. Fowle?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I will once again read this ordinance by title tonight. This is first reading. If approved tonight, there will be a second reading, public hearing at the first meeting in June. And this is an ordinance that is being presented at the request of the Raleigh County Board of Education. This deals with the new Stratton Elementary School, the property very close to there that is being used for parking and for other purposes to benefit Stratton Elementary School. And they have asked, the Board of Education has that this alleyway or right-of-way be closed. It's not really used now. It's not being used by the public. And if this ordinance is adopted, we will eventually convey to the adjacent property owners the alleyway through a quitclaim deed. Each adjacent owner would get half of the alleyway. This is done pursuant to West Virginia Code. And the ordinance is titled, An Ordinance Permanently Closing, Vacating, and Discontinuing so much of a public right-of-way, namely an unused right-of-way alley situate between and parallel to Totten Street and Thurman Street in the city of Beckley. And as I stated, this is requested by the Raleigh County Board of Education, and this does involve property that's adjacent to the new school that was built there. Mr. Mayor?
Very good. Any questions or further explanation of Mr. Fowle on this first reading of this ordinance regarding Totten Street and Thurman Street? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve this on the first reading.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve the ordinance as presented on the first reading. Set for public hearing. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, motion carries. The next 8 or 9 items involve reappointments to the various commissions. Bill, do I need, can we do these as a group?
Mayor, what you might do is, I think I would do, for instance, the Beautification Commission, I do those as a group, and then each one, I think probably should be done since they're dealing with different boards. And it shouldn't take any time to run through these. There is one I know that Janine has asked, and we certainly need to read that one specifically because her sister is one of the individuals being appointed to the Human Rights Commission. So, what I would ask, and I will run through these for you. For instance, the reappointment of Jane Hagan, D.D. Ellison, Sandy Palin, Willie Taggart, and Vicki Webb to the Beautification Commission for 3-year terms. Mayor?
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Accept these sign-ups. Very good. We have a motion and a second to reappoint the members of the Beautification Commission as described by Bill. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by like sign, that motion carries. Thank you. Next, reappointment of Valerie Hartling to the Raleigh County Public Library Board of Trustees, 5-year term. Valerie has expressed an interest in continuing to serve, as all these people have agreed to continue to serve. So I would accept a motion to reappoint Valerie to the Raleigh County Public Library Board.
So moved.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second to reappoint Valerie Hartling to the Raleigh County Public Library Board. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Reappointment of Gary Sutphen to the Beckley Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, 5-year term.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Just trying to think, I had a discussion with Gary. Okay. We have a motion and a second to reappoint Gary Sutphen to the Beckley Housing Authority Board. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. The appointment of Marie Bechtel and Queenie Bullock to the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term. Do we have a motion to
Your Honor,
accept this?
Absolutely make that motion.
All righty.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
And I'll recuse myself for my sister.
All righty. Okay, Janine's going to recuse herself from this vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign.
Mayor, she only wants to recuse for her sister. She is voting in favor of Ms. Beckham.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, good. Thank you, sir. Reappointment of William Brown to the Emergency Operating Center Commission.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion second to reappoint Bill Brown to the EOC. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Reappointment of Noah Cap to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second to reappoint Noah Cap as described. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Next, reappointment of Howard Vest, Tara Barlow, Sam Interdonato, and Arnold Boland to the Historic Landmark Commission, 3-year term. Do we have a motion to accept these reappointments?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second for the reappointments as described to the Historic Landmark Commission. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by a like sign, that motion carries. Next item, and apparently this does not require a vote. Is that correct, Bill?
That's correct. The way the state code is written, the mayor is authorized to appoint the city's representative to the Policeman Civil Service Commission. If council wishes to vote on it to approve that, they certainly can.
Okay, next, Mayor Rappol's appointment of Jeff Shoemate to the Policeman Civil Service Commission for a 4-year term. There is no action required unless, that sounds like a motion and a second to me. So that's good.
You're right.
Very good. Okay, motion to accept the election results. Bill or Billy, can you amplify that a little more?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. What we have attached here is the certified results of the election that occurred on May 14. This will authorize the city of Beckley to keep in its minutes the record of who was elected as the mayor, and it shows also the 7 members of Common Council that were elected each to serve 4-year terms commencing on July 1, 2024. And I think the minutes should reflect that. For mayor, it was Brian Neal. For council at large, Sherry Hunter and Cody Reedy. Ward 1, Natalie Coots. Ward 2, Nancy Shoemaker Dingus. Ward 3, Frank Williams. Ward 4, Kip Buchanan. Ward 5, who is that? There it is. Janine Fields. So this way the minutes will reflect who was elected and who is to serve for the next 4 years. Mayor?
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to accept the election results as presented by Mr. Powell?
Mayor, I'd move to accept the election results as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the election results as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're down to old business. Anything from any member of council under old business?
Do we have any updates with the contract with Fruits of Labor?
We do not. The last we heard, Tammy Jordan had presented our proposed lease to her outside attorney firm. Is that Bowles Rice, Bill?
I'm not sure who she.
I think so.
Who she's using, but you may be correct on that. We
Yeah.
have not heard back from them.
Yeah, so I think we're moving along, particularly with your suggestion of a contribution and then amortize that over a 5-year period, I think you said. So,
Yes, the lease was prepared and presented to her shortly after our last meeting.
Mayor, can I make a motion that council be circulated a copy of that lease? I know we had the workshop and we reached a lot of the terms, but I don't think I've actually reviewed the lease. Maybe other council members would also like to
You don't
see
need a
a copy.
motion. I'll be glad to furnish council.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Copy.
Thank you.
anything else from any member of council under old business? Anything from any member of council under new business? Okay, we're down to public comments. We have several people signed up. First, Mary West.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm gonna talk about the same old, but it's a different day. So, LaRue is still in need of help. It's getting worse down there. And when they get right by my place, they mash on the gas, just to egg me. And something needs to be done. And I'll tell you all the truth, I'm tired of begging for help. You all jumped on Hall Street like it was a golden coin, and LaRue can't get anything done. And to the alleyway down there, that alleyway looks ridiculous. I paid out of my pocket to clean the part behind my home, but it still saw them looking bad. Then when you turn on LaRue, all the yards, the lawns that are growing up looking like some sent for and couldn't get here, it needs to be taken care of. I watched a car because they could not cut the lawn over there. They just went back and forth over it to mash it down. That looks so ridiculous. And if we don't get any help down there, something bad is gonna happen. I watched a young lady come out of her house trying to go to work one morning, and the traffic was coming so fluently and fast that she failed. Get into her car, so she had to get out of the road, off the side. So we need something done down there, and I am tired of being ignored, because that's what it's been all these years I've been coming. Yes, I wear a 13 shoe, but that don't mean I got to keep walking 13 miles to get some help. Please give me some help down there before someone is killed or some child is killed down there. And I would appreciate it. And thank you all so very much. Be blessed.
Christine Basin.
First, I would like to give an appreciation for Parks and Rec for opening the pool next week. I'm extremely looking forward to that and utilizing that pool as a community asset. Secondly, I actually have a question about the city manager recruitment committee meeting. We have been missing meetings pretty regularly, and we don't know who is going to serve as interim. We still don't have a salary or contract, and when applications are going to be accepted by Baker and Tilly. Do we have a timeline on that? And clearly, we are not going to make the deadline of June 15th to get someone into that position. So who are we looking at to appoint?
That's under discussion and probably not ready to be publicized at this point.
The other thing that I had was, when the next city council comes in, they do not have the ability to give themselves a raise. And according to this council here today, that city council members will have an increased job responsibilities. I urge this city council to consider giving the next city council administration a raise. I would also like to urge the
Christine, they
city.
did get a raise. We gave them a raise.
Yeah.
With
We-
the
I
city
get
manager does.
paid $6,000 a year, and the new council coming in will get $8,400. They did get a raise. We gave it to them.
That was under the city manager. It was part of the new pay structure for the mayor and the council.
But you're right. But you're right.
But is $8,400 adequate, is my question to this council.
You know the answer to that.
Absolutely. The other, last thing that I wanted to talk about was this $480,000 to make Pinecrest site ready and to bring in potential businesses. Part of this plan should be focusing on housing. Where are these people going to live? We are in a housing
15
crisis.
seconds.
15 seconds, Christina.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Adam Taylor.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I have a visual aid. I've come prepared. I'm going to ask if you could take one, Councilwoman,
Okay.
and pass it on down.
Okay.
I am Adam Taylor. I'm a business owner. You can throw a rock in my law firm. Been Beckley resident for about 11 years, and I appreciate y'all's time tonight. I'm here as president of the West Virginia Collective. I think most of y'all know who we are. We're a 501c3. Been doing shows around here since 2016. Little Shop of Horrors, 9 to 5. We did the show for the Kids Classic Festival last year. We're doing a youth camp this year. We stay pretty involved. Doing the Great Beckley Beer Fest and of course Pub Fest as well out in Gent. You know, I'm proud to say I think we do pretty good work. We sell out a lot of shows down in Raleigh. Y'all should know no one takes a regular paycheck for what we do. I personally am deeply in the red for my work with the West Virginia Collective. Nobody gets paid. You know, this is all a labor of love for us. And tonight I'm also speaking on behalf of TWV, Theater West Virginia, and the Beckley Children's Theater Ministry, Sam Ingram. We all have the same issue, and they asked that I speak about this on their behalf as well. This is about the Raleigh, and this is about the rates that organizations like ours are being charged for use of the Raleigh. Just so everybody knows, you know, this was a building, of course, built by the generosity of the Bickeys. George Bickey managed it for a long time. Then, of course, the city began to lease it back in 2020. And the last I could tell, the rate for that is $36,000 a year. Right now, Shane Pierce, who we think the absolute world of, takes care of the boots on the ground down there. He's a great guy. He's extremely accommodating. I'm passing this sheet out to show you guys what our anecdotal experience has been renting from the Raleigh. Now you can see back here in 2022, we started at $1,000 per production. And y'all should know this was $1,000 total for essentially 5 weeks in the building. We would rehearse it in the space, then perform in the space, okay? And some of these numbers are a little rough, but I've confirmed with Shane, they're pretty much spot on. Starting last year with our fall production, many of you saw it was a West Virginia story. It was homegrown from a Raleigh County resident, sold out every night. We started paying $3,250, or excuse me, $2,750 for our use of the Raleigh, which was a pretty big increase, but it was also a pretty big show. We had to be in there, and we kind of muscled up and did some extra fundraising, and we've lived with it. This year, this spring, due to the increased rate, only occupied that space for 1 week. And we used the bar downstairs and we paid $1,125.
Adam, 15 seconds.
Thank you. And you can see as this goes, it is increasing to the point where I was told recently that there is a jump from 500 a week to 800 a week. And that's gonna price us out. We can't do it. TWV, I don't think, can do it. Beckley Children's Theater can't do it. And I'm respectfully asking everyone in here to reconsider this policy, or nobody's gonna be able to use that building, I promise. And that's not me being mean or trying to issue a threat. I've seen our budget, and we can't do it. So, again, respectfully, my email address is on there. Talk to me. Send me an email. Let's start a dialogue about how to do a partnership or a reduced rate or something to where we can continue using that space for its intended purpose, as frankly I think Dan and George and Matt would want.
Very
I
good.
appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Ed.
Mayor, may I have recognition of the floor, please?
Yes.
There's precedent for this. Last year we did this whenever someone came and discussed the need for the Little League fee. At this time, I'd like to announce my support with my annual amount for contribution to the West Virginia Collective, especially for the work you're doing with kids. We're allowed, as council people, once a year to make a donation to a 501c3, and I'd like for you all to be mine, because I've seen the good work you do and how hard it is, and I thank you for what you add to the community.
George did
We
leave.
certainly thank you for your support. Thank you.
Is he still here? Okay, next on the list, George Barbera. Do you want to say a few more words? I thought you had gone. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Dunlap, for clarifying that earlier.
Yes, sir.
Our race would be August 24th. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor, Sherry, for recognizing our athletes earlier. Just wanted to say a little bit more about it. Our girls track team finished 4th in the state. They had another great year. Last year they were 3rd, but we lost one kid to an injury. We had 10 total athletes earn first team All-State honors, 1 state champion, 2 runner-up, 2 third-place finishes, including a freshman who took 3rd in the shot. But our 4x2 relay team of Kendall and Celia Harris, Ama Akananon, and Vay Simmons ran a 143.99. But what that is the 11th fastest time ever in the West Virginia track and field history. Only second to the 1987 state champion Beckley team. And somebody might recognize some names: Kelsey Leonard, Diana Copney, Dee Dee Taylor, and Stephanie Arlene. That was the only year that Woodrow ever won the girls' state championship. But this effort earned them the opportunity to run against the nation's best athletes at the New Balance Outdoor Nationals, which is held the weekend of June 14th and 15th in Philadelphia at Franklin Field, University of Penn. It's not a travel tournament. It's actually an elite postseason track meet with strict qualifying standards. And it's an honor to make it, and the girls were extremely excited when they learned that. The meet entry fee is $200, and the hotel expenses are probably $200 a night, so they need a couple rooms. And like you said earlier, I thought of this the other day. I recall last summer when a gentleman came in from the Babe Ruth baseball team, and before the council, and you guys generously provided them with their needed funding, and I was just wondering, on behalf of the girls and Ryan Mukhtar, because he also qualified, obviously, if there'd be anything available for them.
Do you have a suggested amount, George?
$1,000. I mean, we're just looking for assistance with the hotel expenses, and I'm in talks with the athletic director, who's corresponding with the school board to work out all the logistics. But I would want everything to go through the school, so they're working that out.
Very good. I can't speak for council, and I don't have a vote, but I think that this council wouldn't have any problem with awarding you $1,000.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
They'd be very appreciative.
Thank
If
you.
I'm able to contribute my 1,000 to that need, would I be able
All
to
the
do that?
council's money was spent on the Babe Ruth.
That was not even for,
this
it was
fiscal year.
2023. Oh. It was not this time.
Yeah,
If not, I
So we're
understand
not-
that.
No, it's different.
So we'll have to look at it.
Any other questions of George?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, George.
Coach.
When
Sorry.
Could you determine when they have a deadline for the donations?
George, when do you need that contribution?
Well, I need to hear back from from the school board, so it's not that urgent.
Okay.
It's January, it's June 14th, so. When I hear back from them, I'll-
Trey qualified for shot puts. Their block rooms are a fortune. I mean, they're expensive.
Yeah, we have to decide where we want to stay, further away. the cheaper it is, so.
Next, James Schmidt from Goodwill.
Hello, Council.
Hello.
I just want to introduce myself. My name is Jamon Schmidt. I'm the Director of Marketing for Goodwill. We're opening our new Beckley location on June 6th, and we'd love for y'all to be there if you can. Cassie Lilly, our Chief Operating Officer, she's from the area. She's super excited about opening this, reopening that location. I think it was at the Party City was there where we're having. So we're looking forward to it and hope y'all can be there. I think y'all have gotten these invites, but if you haven't, we have them here for you. I'll pass them out to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamon.
Thank you.
Danielle Stewart.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And I am here to talk a little bit first about this, the Pinecrest Development Project. First, I've had extensive experience with contracting and construction, $1 million programs in the Army. I will tell you, the $480,000 for Thrasher is a really good deal. So, you know, take a look at that really hard, because there's a lot of work that goes into that, and it is well worth the cost of them doing it instead of the city. I also want to read off some numbers to you. Raleigh County Commission, $544,000. Senator's Mansion and Shelley-Moore Capito, $1 million. $1.75 million from the U.S. Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration. 3.2 million from the state of West Virginia, 1.75 million from U.S. Economic Development Administration, 1.75 million, and there's a whole bunch more numbers. What these numbers are was the money that was given to the county and the Raleigh County Memorial Airport for their $8 million project. It took about 5 minutes for this to switch from, well, we're asking people where we can get financing, bond, now! That kind of help Parrish sales tactic is best used at a used car sales lot, not a city council. This does need to get done, but this needs to be done right. If this kind of money's out there for the airport, that kind of money's out there for the city. So don't let the high pressure sales tactic get to you about having to do it now. Because the money's out there. If people haven't gotten it already, that's a question you got to ask why they didn't do the work, because they got it for them. Last thing I want to do is congratulate the mayor on his purchase of 2 acres of the Pinecrest Development Authority that you all just did the first reading of. I'm sorry, not really, but we don't know. Do you know? Janine, do you know who's buying it? Robert, do you know? You all just did a first reading to sell property at $75,000 to a business. You have no idea who.
There was a name.
No, there was a name. Okay, who was police
It's in there.
stated?
Doctor
We can tell you real quick.
That's, you know, it's kind of important for public record to know
That's true.
who's buying this property to ensure that it is not being used improperly.
All right, you're right.
And if I may, first reading, most things have to be approved so that we can have the second reading
Yes.
and the public comments and public hearing. Agreed.
But if you have,
Dr. Rajan
Agreed.
and.
Okay.
Blind.
well, thank you very much for adding that, because now that we know and can actually make informed comments.
course.
for the next meeting. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Michael Smith.
Congratulations to the winner. You know who you are. Condolences for the losers.
Ah, thank you, Michael.
Deal with it, like I am.
We'll
My
move
3 minutes
forward.
starts. I have a question. I looked at the city charter and it says under Chapter 8, Article 2, Division 3, recycling, that it's mandatory. What? Well, it ain't. That's why here it's not. Either is or it isn't. Let's talk about recycling people. Because we have a lot of people in the streets right now who need recycled. They're out there doing drugs, selling their bodies to make ends meet. And what are we doing? We're feeding them, keeping them fed. They throw their styrofoam things on the ground after they're done. They go to Helping Hand to get clothes, and they throw their clothes on the ground too. The city my part of the city anyway, doesn't look very pretty. Maybe you live in a pretty part of the city. I don't. I live on Woodlawn, okay? And I see it every day. Every day I see the sadness and the misery of these people. And all I have to say to you is a question. Is vagrancy illegal in the city limits? Sir, is vagrancy a crime in the city limits? Yes or no? Can anybody answer that?
I think there's a lot of gray area there, in my
Not a
opinion.
gray- Okay, then we need to get rid of the gray areas and find out, is vagrancy a crime? If it is, what are the elements of the offense of that crime?
Bill Fowle, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Mayor.
You know what a vagrant needs? An address. He needs a home. Now, the state took away $350,000 from us, from our homeless shelter. I say we give them the people that are left outside in the jail. Arrest them. Put them in jail for a little while. Get them an ID card. Get them an address so they can get an ID card so they can go to work. And if they're on drugs, get them to rehab immediately. There's lots of things we can do for these people that we're not doing. We're feeding them, but feeding them is only extending their misery. Trust me, I see their misery every day.
I can respond to one thing. You cannot put somebody in jail because they don't have a job or they're a vagrant. That is not permitted.
In other words, if you don't have a home to live in, if you have a place to live, you can't put a person in jail? Why not?
Unless they ask to go there.
Unless they ask to go there.
And
Okay, well then offer it.
And
Are we
there,
offering it?
and there is no definition in your West Virginia Code, Chapter 61, for vagrancy.
Is there a city code for it?
There is not.
There's not.
But there is an amazing prosecuting attorney in attendance. He would be happy to talk with you about what constitutes vagrancy.
Why is that?
Because he's amazing.
He's amazing. He got reelected, right?
Well, he didn't even, nobody, we're scared to run against him.
We're scared to run against him?
But his name is Ben. He is, oh my goodness.
Oh, that-
Next to the beautiful blonde lady. Sitting next to the beautiful blonde.
Can we? Or not?
Okay, that's the end of our sign-up.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Michael.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Aye.
Stand adjourned. Thank you.
Come, Ben.
Yeah.